everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka Mono Bluetron, back with another episode of 10-minute testing. So, I've been playing a bunch of games with friends for the past couple of days in order to help them test for an upcoming regional. We've thrown a whole bunch of ideas together and expect the following decks to be pretty good. We got Blue Eyes, Cyber Angels, PK Fire, Monarch, Cosmo, OEM, Water, some sort of Synchro deck, and of course, Metafoes. But figuring out what Metafoes deck is going to be the dominant Metafoes strategy has proven a little more difficult than we originally anticipated. So I have built a monstrosity that I think might be alright. Let's jump into deck edit and we'll see what we're dealing with. So this is a deck I'm calling Volcanic Metafoes for obvious reasons. It is playing enough Metafoes guys in order to make the Metafoes strategy happen, and enough Volcanic guys, hopefully, to make the Volcanic strategy happen. The idea behind this deck is that Magic Planter is pretty good in both scenarios. You know, you can Magic Planter away Blaze Acceler reloads, Metafoes combinations that you set, and more importantly, the Metafoes can destroy Blaze Acceler reload in order to set Metafoes traps and accrue more value, while making sure that Blaze Accelerator reload will always be able to use the scatter shot effect. So what we're playing is 3 Volflame, 3 Gold Driver, 2 Silverbird, and 2 Stealerin, 2 of the low attack guys, and 3 of each of the high attack guys. Volflame is so we can special summon him off of counter, and Gold Drivers because I like beaters, and beaters are particularly good in Volcanic. We have 3 Volcanic Rocket, the backbone of the deck, searches you your Blaze Accelerator reload, 2 Royal Firestorm Guards. I wanted to play 3 because the deck super relies on getting those scatter shots back in the deck, but 3 was just not workable. 2 Summoner Monk in order to get our Volcanic Rockets in desperate scenarios. We don't have a lot of spells for it, but worst case scenario, we are playing a Pendulum deck, and he's pretty good at powering out rank 4s. 3 Volcanic Shell, 2 Planter, 1 Fusion, 3 Duality, 2 Counter, 2 Combination, and then we have the reloads of Vanities, which is the best card in the deck, and 3 Quaking Mirror Force. In the extra, we've got a bunch of good rank 4s, 2 good rank 7s for Volflame shenanigans, Flare Metal Dragon I expect to go into more than anything else, and then the fusions, we got 3 Aura Hulk, 1 Adamantite, and 1 Cardinal. So let's jump into the games and see what happens. So, because this episode of 10-minute testing is a little more focused on a deck I hope is actually competitive, I'll only be showing footage from actually recognized decks. Having said that, we are now playing against Ritual Blue Eyes, which is probably the worst Blue Eyes build. However, I do expect it to show up based on how many players are probably going to be playing BA, because Chaos Max is kind of a problem for that deck unless it's playing Kaiju. So we draw into Volcanic Rocket. We're going to set our Blaze Accelerator reload. We also have a Metaphos counter, which is pretty good. He makes a Chaos Max Dragon first turn, and he has a Blue Eyes. I'm thinking, oh god, how do I get out of this? I'm going to counter into Volflame. Can't put it in defense mode because I don't want him to deal that double piercing damage that this very fun card has. What am I talking about? We have a double piercing too. So now that we've plantered, we get to draw a bunch of cards. We get to use our Metaphos to do things. Unfortunately, we do not get to destroy Chaos Max because it can't be destroyed by card effects. So I figure if he has something like, say, a Manju, we're just completely fucking dead, but he doesn't, and I'm like, okay, we can win this from 5,300 life, or from 1,300 life points. I just got to get a little lucky. So I draw a Quaking Mirror Force, which is getting a little lucky. We're going to start off by Firestorm guarding 4 Pyros back and drawing. We're going to Metaphos combination. He max sees, and I'm like, well, I wasn't intending on special summoning, but I realized I do actually have lethal, so let's take the max C challenge. I'm going to set a bunch of cards, set some 1 to 8 scales, and then special summon as many guys as possible. We have enough to go into a rank 4 and a rank 7. From this position, I can't think of any way to do lethal. The closest I can get is, I think, 100 off by fusing these 2 into Ori Hulk, and the second closest I can do is the play I actually do, which is make Utopia the Lightning, attack with both, get him down to 700, and then in main phase 2, we're going to set 2 Quakings and make a Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon. The idea is that Flare Metal will just kill him, so he's going to summon Alternative, use Gospel of Revival to get back Spirit Dragon. That takes him 500. Then he makes a big fucking beater trying to attack me for lethal, but I do have the Quaking, and I win the game. So actually a pretty impressive showing from game one. I really liked where we ended up. Unfortunately, because we're not playing as many stun traps, we occasionally end up with hands like this that can make some Metaphos things occur, but that's about it. We're going to make some Metaphos things occur, set some scales, destroy Gold Driver, because that's the one we want to special summon for our rank 4s, and then set a combination. Our opponent is on Phantom Knights, playing some of the mask change stuff. If I'm being completely real with you, I think it is a completely nuts time to be playing cards like Dark Law. If you can make Dark Law, I think you're in business. Look at all these decks that really get completely fucked by it. Look, so he gets to make 2 Leviair this turn. He's going to send his Silent Boots away for a Dark Law and send his Wing to get the, what is this called? Destiny Robe? Dusty Robe. I think it's Tattered Robe in America. Ancient Cloak. Okay. So we're completely screwed here. As long as Dark Law is active, we don't actually have any way to make anything occur. We're going to set these 2 scales, he Twin Twisters, and of course they go to the Banished Zone, so what am I going to do? We're going to Rocket for Blaze Accelerator Reload, and he gets the Blaze Accelerator Reload with the Dark Law, and that's, that's just the end of the game. So it looks like we can actually play around things like macro cards that intend to prevent us from really playing the game, which is unfortunate because being a stun deck, you would expect us to be in that position. Our opponent this time is one of my close friends who decided he was going to jam some games of what I assume is the mirror. Obviously, he is not playing the volcanic things. Just Metaphos stun, that means he's got Card of Demise. He also has main deck, Necro Valley, and Anti-Spell Fragrance. We'll see what ends up happening. So we get to go first, which is a pretty big boon in this matchup. Fire off our Pot of Duality, which gets us a Metapho, which we're going to activate and then set a whole shitload of cards. He gets to Pot of Duality as well, grabbing himself a Commandant, which will immediately go and fetch a Necro Valley. Necro Valley actually pretty good against a lot of decks in the format. I hope a lot of people catch on to it. You can see I forget to activate Blaze Accelerator Reload. I get to do it now and get Shell. And as always, Shell draws you a second Shell. Our Rocket gets Sandstormed. I believe in this matchup, it is particularly devastating to sort of, actually get your 1900 beaters set to face down defense mode. You can see my opponent has destroyed his own Necro Valley in an attempt to be able to banish the cards that he expects to. So I'm going to use Vanity's Emptiness in order to prevent him from getting anything off the counter. I'm feeling pretty good. I'll just keep attacking in. Hopefully we can fade a couple draw steps. I'm going to Royal Firestorm Guard's second main because I assume one of these set cards is a Battle Trap. Of course it is not. He draws into a Mystical Space Typhoon, but because Anti-Spell is active, he is going to have to set it face down. I Quaking this guy as well. Unfortunately, that Quaking destroys my Emptiness, and he's able to Pendulum Summon. So now I'm attacking into what I know is 2 counters, but I think I have to do it anyway, unfortunately. Beforehand, I'm going to Castell away this Anti-Spell so I can get my Metaphos stuff online. As long as he has his online and I don't, I'm at a severe disadvantage because I can't continuously Pendulum Summon, and as long as I'm not able to activate the Metaphos spell and trap cards effectively, then I'm not really getting ahead in the game in any scenario. So he gets 2 counters out, which gets him 2 copies of Wolflame. I'm going to destroy as many as possible and then go for the Metaphos Fusion, but he chains a Vanity's Emptiness, and I go, oh god, well, at least I can set a Blaze Accelerator Reload off the draw. He gets to beat up all my monsters but the Wolflame, and then tries to start using these effects, but I'm going to reload away a Volcanic Rocket in an attempt to draw something. I do draw Magic Planter, which means I'll be able to use the Regeki effect of Blaze Accelerator Reload again. I actually draw Scattershot, so I can just do that anyway here. Unfortunately, this doesn't destroy any of his monsters and send them to the graveyard because of the way Vanity's Emptiness works with Pendulum monsters. They don't go to the graveyard, they go to the extra deck, which means we're just going to have to get our beat on, and thankfully he doesn't have any Battle Traps. I actually do know both of these set cards, so we end up picking it up. So we're back with the deck. I'll lead off with the obvious question. I don't think this is a deck anyone should be bringing to regionals. It is inconsistent in a way that Volcanics never was. It draws cards, sure, but the cards it's drawing are repeated copies of Metaphos Fusion and Metaphos Combination and the actual Metaphos themselves, which are way less exciting than Volcanic being able to draw into a plethora of stun traps. I think it'd be interesting to test a bunch of games out of the board where you get to play things like Rivalry and Anti-Spell, but as it stands, the deck doesn't strike me as much more powerful than Volcanics was, or much more powerful than normal Metaphos was. We also had a lot of problems versus decks that constrained our game plan, and with people going into Dark Law, which I 100% expect, and people playing Cyber Angels with Herald of Perfection, I don't really know how this deck would fare if you can just basically shut down most of their plays. The Summoner Monks were more clunky than I expected, kind of to be expected with only 6 spells. I think I would probably cut them for a card we were severely lacking, which was Twin Twister. Man, I needed it in a lot of games and just didn't see it. I do think the deck was fun. I do think there's play for it. There's probably a better version of it that would probably be more competitive, but for now, I don't think it's the Metaphos Prime that we're looking for. So that's that. I hope you enjoyed an actual look at a potential competitive archetype today instead of just a whole shitload of memes. I hope you enjoyed watching my desperate attempts to get Volcanics to be playable for the 10 millionth time, and most of all, I just hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to give me a like, a comment, or a subscribe. It really helps me out. And if you want to see me play the decks we make on the show, I am live every Tuesday, Thursday on Twitch from 9:30 a.m. to noon. And finally, if there is a certain deck or archetype you want to see played on the following episode of the show, let me know in the comments below, and I will do my best to get that going for you. If not, I will see you on Friday.